Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It is November 27th. These are your headlines. First and foremost, wishes for a very happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at the Fisherman magazine. Happens to be my favorite holiday, and I hope you guys enjoy a great one. On the fishing end of things, we've seen some big tog coming out of Long Island Sound, but you're going to have to act quick if you're going to get that done. Striped bass fishing is sort of overachieving in South County, and there's been some interesting movements on pelagic species this week. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. First one, I just want to remind you that the Fisherman magazine has an online store with all kinds of apparel. We've got this logo gear stuff. We've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got sweatshirts. We've got all kinds of stuff, and those are phenomenal holiday gifts for the fisherman in your life, or if you just want to rep the brand or whatever. If you want to give someone a gift subscription and give them a hat to go along with it, I think that'd make a fantastic gift. So head over to thefisherman.com right now, and you can check out the online store there. And also, we are offering free shipping on orders over $100 right now, which is sort of a Black Friday type of a thing. So head over there, make your holiday purchases, and I think you're going to be happy with what you get. Next thing, I want to talk about the tog season in Connecticut, which closes at the end of the day tomorrow, Thanksgiving. Kind of a strange way to give you something to be thankful for, I guess. But yeah, the season closes on the 28th, as it always does. And this year in particular, it just feels kind of early. We've seen a lot of nice fish caught this week. 3 double-digit tog from the Sound this week that I know of, and many other solid fish as well. So if you're going to make it happen, you better get out there and do it now, because the turkey and tog is going to be your last shot. Now let's check in with Jenni Ackerman. Here's her latest installment of Open Boat.
What's up, open boaters? Today I have a different surfcaster, not even just surfcasters, but boat fishermen too, a challenge for you. It's a bit of an eco challenge. So I know a lot of guys, specifically for the fall run, you're hitting the beach a lot. Like, I made countless trips last fall from now through almost the new year. And I see a lot of trash. And we don't have Bob the garbage man around to pick up that trash, so I'm challenging you surfcasters, for every single trip you make to the beach, pick up a piece of trash that you see. Every beach has garbage cans at the entry point. So you see it, pick it up and put it in the trash. If you don't have a garbage at your entry points, put it in your truck, just like your Wawa wrappers. And even for boat fishermen too. If you see trash floating out there, either net it or gaff it, put it in your boat with the garbage bucket, and dish it out at the dock. We want to be the change that you want to see. That's my favorite quote. Be the change you want to see. Pick up garbage. Don't leave garbage on the beach or in the ocean. Keep it clean so we have excellent fishing for years to come. I'd rather be catching striped bass than plastic bags. So go ahead and do this challenge this fall run season and every single time you go fishing. I'll catch you guys on next week's Open Boat.
Now, until December 31st, Tsunami is giving away a Salt X waterproof backpack when you purchase a new Salt X2 reel. With its 19 seals and machined aluminum frame, the rugged Salt X2 can conquer any fishing condition you may face. Check out the QR code for all the details.
Last thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing. Seeing a little bit of an uptick in photos this week. A lot of tog coming in, which I love to see. And the other thing that's been great, we've seen kids, and even had a picture of a guy over 90 with his personal best tog. So, I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that. So you guys know the drill by now. It's got to be a recently caught fish. It's got to show you holding your fish. And it's got to be a well-composed photo. Send them in to me at danderson@thefisherman.com, or text them to the number on the screen. And just give me all the pertinent details, like the name of the angler, where the fish was caught, how big it was, what it was caught on, stuff like that. Get them into me, and we'll see who wins. This time around, we're going to give away a flat glide needlefish made by me, and we're going to throw some NLBN paddle tail stuff in there as well. Get them in, and we'll get you in the magazine, we'll get you in the report, and who knows, maybe you'll even win.
The season of giving is here. Why not share the gift of fishing that lasts all year long? A subscription to the Fisherman magazine is just that. 12 glossy print issues and 26 weekly digital issues delivered to your inbox. The best writers in the Northeast will share their knowledge that will help you sharpen your skills. Plus weekly reports and full access to the website, all for $29.95. And you're automatically eligible for the Dreamboat contest with your chance to win a new Steigercraft powered by Yamaha. Visit thefisherman.com/subscribe for that ultimate gift.
Moving over to the reports now. Not a lot of reports for me coming out of Maine this week. A little bit of freshwater stuff, some guys doing some bass and trout, but that's about it on that front. And that, excuse me, extends down through New Hampshire. Let's cross the border now. We'll check in with Kevin Huang at Surfland Bait and Tackle. Here he is.
Hey guys, Kevin from Surfland Bait and Tackle checking in on the Merrimack report. Right now it's going to be mostly a freshwater report. If you want to get salty, you can head over to Gloucester, target some mackerel and some inshore pollock. Some guys been catching them on like spoons and metal jigs, but mostly it's all freshwater fish in the Merrimack. White perch still biting good, crappie, yellow perch. There's been some smallmouth action on certain creeks and mouths if you can find some. Same thing with carp, pike, same thing, chain pickerel, largemouth bass on jigs, crawfish imitators, bouncing them off the bottom in certain spots and reservoirs around here. They've been doing pretty well, slow dragging a jig, popping it, and they've been doing pretty good. And then your standard live bait, earthworms, shiners, all that type of stuff, still working phenomenal as always. But that's the report for the week. Thanks guys.
Now we'll drop out of the Plum Island area, head down to Boston. We'll check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in. This week we haven't had much luck getting offshore. The weather's been decent, but it's just it's blowing, so no fun out there. We're hoping December opens up and we can get a few tuna under the belt, get some haddock, some ground fishing trips in. Right now I'm actually on the Merrimack, and the smallie action's really good. So when you can't get offshore, you know, grab your freshwater gear, get out there, get some smallies. There's some big carp in this area, big carp. But yeah, get out there. I did talk to some of the guys in the harbor, and they said that they're starting to get smelt. So the smelt are in. If you know that fishery, it can be very well in Boston. And I also talked to some guys still getting the holdovers. So there's still some bait in the area. Find your bait, you'll find the fish. That's what I got for you. Hopefully everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Stay safe. I'll catch you on the next one.
Let's take a jaunt inland now. I want to remind you guys that the Wachusett Reservoir's regulations have changed. So a few years ago, you know, or pretty much as long as I can remember, the reservoir has closed on November 30th. But I think it was 2 years ago they pushed the closing date out to December 31st. Now, the main species in Wachusett Reservoir for most people is lake trout. Lake trout's a cold water species, and December is a cold water month. So you can kind of touch the wires together on that for yourself. But December is going to be a great month to be fishing down there. And, you know, with these warmer winters that we've been having, especially in December, you got a good opportunity to get some really big fish. Wachusett has absolutely titanic lake trout. I think if we could fish it from a boat or through the ice, I mean, you'd definitely break the state record. I think some absolute giant fish would come out of there. But if you look at the map on DFW on the DFW website, you can check and see where these, where the deep spots get in really close to shore. Pretty much all those spots are going to be good places to try. You can do it with a shiner pinned to the bottom, give it a little air bubble in there to get it to stay up off the bottom, or you can do it the way I do it, go throw tins, Castmasters, little Cleos, crocodiles, thing like that, and just snap jig them off the bottom. The bite can be awesome, and there's some phenomenal fish in that place. So highly recommend you head over and check that out. Heading back to the coast now. Saltwater action along the South Shore is pretty much over with. We've heard of some guys going out on the head boats for pollock. Probably still a few tog around, but striper fishing is pretty much done. However, the freshwater fishing is really kicking into gear right now. Great trout fishing in Long and Little Pond right now. A lot of really nice bass being caught in the area too. Throughout Plymouth, you can get them in Long Pond as well. It's kind of a sleeper spot. Cohasset Reservoir is another hot spot. We've been hearing a lot of good bass fishing, a lot of good trout fishing throughout that area. Crossing the canal out onto the Cape, same deal. Not a lot of saltwater activity going on. You got a few stripers in the canal. You get a little bit of mackerel on the canal. The stripers are small. And you got some holdover fish up in a few estuaries. No one's really talking about exactly where, but if you do some poking around, you might find them. But most of the people fishing on the Cape right now are doing it in the fresh. We've got great largemouth bass fishing. It's slowed down a little bit from a few weeks ago, but overall still very good. A lot of guys doing well with jigs, a lot of guys doing well with big swim baits. For the trout and smallmouth guys, you can almost use the same lures. Jerk baits have been really good, especially the smaller sizes. Ned rigs have been crushing it. Small, little paddle tail swim baits have been getting it done. And then, of course, live baits will do it for both species. Shiners or inflated night crawlers are a great way to hook up with those Cape trout and Cape smallies. Heading down toward the south shore of the Cape, might find a few striped bass still migrating across there. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible. There are some tog out around the Elizabeth Islands. There are some tog inside Buzzards Bay. You might still find a bonito, but I think we're on borrowed time as far as the bones go. And then, of course, we already talked about the canals. A few small bass up inside the canal. Probably your best bet for just varied action in particular is sort of the western end of Buzzards Bay, maybe out toward Dartmouth or Westport. You got good togging there. There's some codfish kind of mixing in, and probably your best chance for finding some straggler striped bass as well. And that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Jumping over into Rhode Island now, we'll start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, guys. Hey, guys, got the fastest 3 minutes of fishing in the East Bay again. Here we go. And I think things have been kind of quiet. It was very windy this last couple, 3-4 days in a row. And it's made it kind of difficult to get out there and do some fishing. And but if you can find a couple of spots where you're going to hide from the wind, which was pretty much been blowing out of the north and northwest, it's very tough to fish. So what I got is if you're fishing up in the Taunton River in the south coast of Mass, there's a couple of holdover spots where the bass have been holding really well. There's some bait still way up inside the Taunton River, up near Dighton and into Sonnet Bay. If you can get up there, there's lots of shore access. There's also some white perch up inside of there, way up inside of the tributaries. I'm going to say towards Water Street in Sonnet. If you can get up there and fish on some of those marshlands there, there's access, there's parking, you can get out there, and you can do some white perch fishing out there. Another hot spot in the East Bay, getting more towards the Providence County though, is way up inside of the Seekonk River and headed towards Pawtucket. There's been a lot of striped bass up inside of there. There is a boat ramp up there off of Prospect Street, I believe. If you can fish in the area near Omega Pond. It's kind of like the same spring fishery where these kind of like holdover bass are just kind of holding up inside of these rivers because there's some bait locked up inside of there. So I tell you, those are your best bets right now for the East Bay area, maybe Mount Hope Bay, South Coast Mass. Other than, I got to tell you, it's been a great bite, a bass bite inside of the local ponds here, and some trout stocking in some of the Massachusetts. So, headed towards the Cape more, but they haven't quite hit our ponds yet here in Seekonk and in Swansea. But hopefully they'll get some winter stockings for us. And other than that, it's been kind of slow and, weather-based, There's no tog up in the rivers, the Warren, Barrington rivers. I haven't tried up in the 100 Acre Cove yet, just to see if there's any fish hanging up in there yet. I know there is some bait. There have been some birds working, but not any fish on them. So good prospects for, some of the outskirts of the other bigger rivers. But going forward, I just think I see some cool weather coming, and then a little warm up coming too. So hopefully the freshwater bite will pretty much prevail going forward here. So I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and hope you all have a great holiday. Tight lines, and we'll catch you next week.
As has been the case for weeks now, the crown jewel of the Rhode Island fishery is the blackfish, and that's continuing again this week. We've seen some more double-digit fish. A lot of these fish are coming out of deeper water. I saw Coral had another nice one. Pick up that up here. A lot of these fish are coming from, say, 50 to 90 feet of water. Most people have abandoned the jigs at this point and are fishing mostly rigs. And a few people have talked about how switching over to white crabs is increase their catch, especially when targeting bigger fish. So that's a little tip that you can take to the bank with you when you head out this week. Striped bass activity on the eastern half of the state is on the slower side. A few transient schools here and there. There's some fish up in the bay, but they seem to be trickling out at a pretty good clip at this point. However, once you get down by Point Judith, down by the Narrow River, and then head all the way out to Watch Hill, the action is, I would say, overachieving. Now, don't take this the wrong way. That doesn't mean you're going to drive down there and there's going to be gannets bombing the surf and birds working everywhere and, lines crossing and rods bending everywhere. It's not like that. This is more for the hardcore guy that lives in the area. If you go out in the morning, you go out in the evening, 3-4 times this week, odds are you're going to find fish 1 or 2 times. A lot of these fish are blitzing. Might be on sea herring, they might be on sand eels, who knows. But a lot of times they're out off the beaches, but the guys that are waiting around are getting some shots at fish. Most of them are on the smaller side, say, 15 to 25 inches, but there's a few fish up into the slot, and even, the occasional fish that goes over 35 inches, something like that. And then you've got some fish up inside the estuaries as well. You can go up in any one of the breachway ponds. You can get up inside Point Judith Pond. You can get up in the back almost anywhere, look around. You're not guaranteed to find fish, but if you poke around and hit 3 or 4 estuaries, you're probably going to find a few. And again, some of these fish are, up in the upper 30-inch class, which is exciting. In the late season, we're going to cross over in December here pretty quick. And I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity to find some striped bass from the surf in Rhode Island in December, which is kind of cool. Let's check in now with a few of our field correspondents. We'll start things off with Jeff Sullivan at Lucky Bait and Tackle. Here he is.
What's up, guys? What's going on, Dave? So this week I've been doing a lot of largemouth, cold water, finesse, Kitech fishing. I love fishing small Kitechs for largemouth and cold water. It's just one of my favorite things to do this time of year, from end of October until probably the end of February, and then I'll go back to spring transition. But I've been using 2 shads here, actually 3 shads here. I'm going to show you here. I just put a new one on. I went through 30 different Kitechs this week, patterns and colorways to figure out what they're eating exactly, and jig head sizes too. So you guys can play with them, but I finally figured out what they want and what they're eating, and it's going to be fun the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that's the yellow perch side of things that has nice bristles running down them. That pushes a lot of water around. I like banging this off bottom and banging it off structure. It creates a reaction strike, gets those fish to commit and eat it. And it's got a nice profile. It's not too big, not too small. That works perfect. Here's one that's I fish around, you know, when the herring bite's good or a shad bite's good. And actually, this has been working really well lately. But it has a slim profile, you know, and it has that belly wag to it. So I call it the swag wag. And what I mean by that is these easy shiners have this bounce to it. So when this tail moves here, it has that belly bounce, and it just back and forth. It kind of has that swag to it, you know, like that walking mentality. It's like, oh, I'm gonna hunt. It has that hunter mentality, but it gets eaten. So it has a nice belly bounce to it, which I look for, and it's a nice profile. Matches really nicely. This is a I think this is a 3/8 ounce head here. That's a DOA head. And here's another shiner profile here. When you know, this was a smallmouth killer for me in the last I think this was October. This was the October lure of the month for me. But this has been working. It's been working for trout. I've been getting brown trout on these and some brook trout. But the profile in this is different than this Capt. You see it has a slimmer profile to it. I like using this and slow rolling it, and it really gets that tail to pulsate, opposed to, you know, using one of these and it has a faster tail kick. You're just gonna have to dial in and see which one's working better. But this is a water column bait, and this is a structure bait. As you can tell by the heads, you know, I like bouncing that ball head jig. It's made for destruction, and I like fishing this around structure, but not in structure. You know, like water columns. I'll fish it in 5 feet to 10 feet. Just got to figure out this color covers a lot of the water column. So fluorocarbon, I like to use 10 pound. It seems to be the trick for me. 10 pound J fluoro I like to use. I've used 6 and just pops too much. It's not as abrasive resistant as I would like it to be with the Capt I'm using. But the system I have right now, it's been working for years. I'm not going to break it. But the 10 pound fluoro seems to be more abrasive resistant, and it seems to be triggering bites with what I'm using. So, Dave, with that being said, I'm waiting for this fan to turn off. Anytime this wind wants to turn off would be great, because I'm picking sticks out of my hair still. But hey, we got some cold nights coming, so we should have some real good trout fishing coming up pretty soon. I'm going to be going on some smallmouth missions this week. There's tons of fishing out there, guys. Go out there and get some fish. All right, later.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites.
Also got some interesting news from Block Island this week. There was apparently, I heard this from 2 sources, apparently a school of very large albies showed up off a block this week. And they were in pretty tight to the island, and they were hitting everything. These fish were 10 pounds and up, so big albies. Even a few guys got them on umbrella rigs, which is kind of mind-boggling. But so that happened. It didn't last very long. We had a big blow and a big rainstorm right after that, and it kind of cleared those fish out. Also heard about some tuna, some bluefin tuna in the 30 to 50 pound class that came in, again, pretty tight to the island. These fish were feeding pretty heavily, and that leads me to believe that there's probably some sea herring around, which got pushed in tight. And since then, we've had another big blow, and I would guess that those fish are long gone. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to note. I remember John Lee, who we're going to check in with here in a moment, telling me right around this time of year, a few years ago, that he was out south of the island, and they got in on a crazy bite of big bonito. And these bonito, which you don't typically think of as eating big bait fish, were spitting up like 9-inch mackerel. So, this time of the year, you got a lot of big bait around. You've got all different species sort of crisscrossing, and you just don't know what you might find. So really your best bet is just to get out there and see what happens. And with that, let's check in with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, John Lee, JL Charters, Point Judith, Rhode Island. Been a blustery week. We had that easterly, blew hard, turned into a westerly, blew hard. Most people didn't get out. Today, friends of mine went, not sure how they did. I have been mostly just on the pilot boat. I haven't fished in 6-7 days, but we've had a lot of pilot boat trips. I talked to some of my commercial friends who are fishing between Watch Hill and Narragansett in Block Island Sound. they're catching mackerel and squid. I guess there's quite a few mackerel around. So we'll see. That could linger well into January with those fish. We have giant tuna. That's going to open December 1. Plenty of guys out of Point Judith are going to go look for those. I hope to get a couple more groundfish trips in. We'll see. I like to get offshore for those, so target codfish, sea bass, and tautog. You need weather to get out there, so all these northwesterlies we're having, you can fish the beach in a northwesterly. You can't fish offshore in a northwesterly. Anyway, I got a chemical carrier to go to right now. I will get with you guys next week. Have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.
And then heading out to the South County area again, just talking quickly about the bottom fishing out there. There's a lot of wrecks, a lot of ledges out there. I know it seems like it's all sand, but it's not. Some decent cod fishing. There are plenty of sea bass around, especially in that deeper water. And on those same pieces of structure, you're going to find some blackfish. So bottom fishing is looking good in the western end of the state, along with the overachieving striped bass. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Now, crossing over into Connecticut, it's funny, this report is pretty much the same as last week's report. The only difference is that you got to fish with urgency if you're going to chase tog. I've seen a couple of really nice tog this week. We saw one 11-pounder that came out of the Central Sound that is leading the Fishing Factory 3 shop tournament, which is a really nice fish. Got a picture of that here. And I've heard of a lot of solid fish from the eastern half of the Sound. Most of these fish are being caught in deeper water, 40 to 60 plus feet. At the same time, we still have striped bass around the mouths of most of the rivers, and that counts pretty much across the state. You can go from the Thames to the Niantic Bay to the Connecticut River to the Quinnipiac River to the Housatonic, the ones I didn't mention in between, and even further beyond. These fish are kind of piling up outside of these estuaries, just picking off bait. Most of these fish are very small, say in the 15 to 20 inch range with a few slot-sized fish in the mix. And, you never know. You never know what you might find. So you've got that. Getting out closer to the Connecticut River, it seems like there's been a heavier concentration of smaller fish there. And let's start by checking in with Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up, everybody? For this week's Fisherman Report, the big news from last week was that the bluefin tuna came in really shallow. We saw them in 30 feet of water. They were anywhere from 20 to 200 pounds. So it was pretty cool to see some inshore late season bluefin tuna. Now, I'm not sure if they're still going to stick around or not. We've had a lot of wind, but it is possible. The black fishing was still good, but the weather has made it tough to really go out and do much fishing the past few days. I would say the schoolie stripers should be pushing in to their winter holding over areas. So you should see some schools of schoolies probably moving through Long Island Sound and moving up into the rivers. So good luck.
Now we'll head up the river and check in with Rowan Lytle.
Howdy, everybody. So finally getting some rain in the Connecticut River Valley and enough to bring the river up somewhat. And that is a good thing after such a ridiculous drought. Now, I kind of anticipate things to slow down in the main stem of the river as we're moving into some cooler weather after Thanksgiving here. But there should still be some decent bass bites to be had, and the backwater panfish bites should continue. Of course, that cold water won't deter pike too much, although the bite may move from more of an artificial only bite to a better bite on live and dead baits under floats and things like that. But get out there, anticipate slightly water, maybe slightly higher water, maybe slightly off color, and of course that will improve a lot of the trout fishing in the tributaries as well. The state has gone and stocked most of them, although it's been really, really low up until recently. But with some rain now, finally, things are definitely looking up for that.
Now we'll stop at Black Hall Outfitters and check in with Matt Stone. Here he is.
What's up, everyone? Matt from Black Hole Outfitters here in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. Rain's coming down as I record this. Finally getting some rain here, much needed. Blackfish season closes the 28th in Connecticut. Rhode Island, I believe you guys still get December, but for us in Connecticut here, it's going to close on up. If you get out, they're moving a little deeper. I had success yesterday in 40 to 50 plus. Pretty standard this time of year as it gets colder. After Blackfish season closes in Connecticut, we're going to be moving into winter mode. So for stripers, that means schoolies and kind of back tidal creeks. There were still some kicking around out front yesterday, some smaller ones splashing around with birds messing on them. Small paddle tails, little flukes, little things this time of year. They're just feeding up on little stuff before they go bellies in the mud for the winter, as we've talked about before. But that's kind of it. I'll shift over kind of into some freshwater for the winter with some schoolie and holdover striper action in between. Your best bet for schoolie holdover stripers are tidal creeks and their associated holes. Beyond that, you really have to put in the time in the winter if you want to get those stripers. There's some major known areas, but there's a lot of them in other places too. You just really need to dig around. Beyond that, trout, bass, pickerel, yellow perch, panfish, that kind of stuff all winter is always fun. We're about to get a nice selection of freshwater lures here at Black Hall in Westbrook, a first time for us outside of normally having some trout stuff. We're going to be carrying a bunch of largemouth bass stuff, smallmouth bass stuff going into next year. So pretty excited about that. If you want to check that out, make sure you swing by in the next couple weeks. We should have that up on the shelves. Beyond that, hope everyone has a great holiday.
The western half of the sound has better bottom fishing overall. We've seen some more consistent catches of bigger tog this week out there. And again, you got to wrap it up by sundown tomorrow because the season closes, but it might be worth it. It might be worth it. We've seen 2 double-digit tog come out of the western sound that I know of, plus, more consistent catches overall. Decent sea bassing off of some of those deeper edges and even some big porgies out there as well. It does seem like the striped bass fishing out in the sound is on the slower side compared to what we usually expect at this time of year. Hopefully that's going to fire up soon. But fish heading up into the Hoosey, fish heading up into some of these other rivers are kind of taking up the slack. The lower rivers are producing fish. The mouths of these bays and estuaries are producing quite well. And for a little bit more on all that, let's check in now with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. This past week, it was hard for guys to get out with this wind, but we did see some fish caught from shore. The Housatonic is actually starting to pick up, and guys were getting nice blackfish up to like 6-7 pounds from shore. The blackfish bite this year was absolutely insane, and we ran a tournament. Every week it reset, and that was awesome, and it worked out really well. You got a $100 gift card, whoever won. So we're going to rerun that again next season, probably in the spring. Locally, there's still bass up in our back bays, along our beaches. Definitely the Housatonic too is a hot spot right now. We're about to move into December, so you can still get into some good diamond jig and bite out at our deeper water reefs if we get some herring or, some mackerel pushing in. But locally, guys are still finding some sea bass on the deep wrecks. We are starting to see them move shallower. I saw some knothead sea bass people were getting in like that 20 to 30 foot range. Middle ground was a hot spot for that this past week. And then our local wrecks and 28C Cable Anchor Reef definitely held some nice sea bass and some blackfish. There were bass found around the island plug-in. It's been a little slower this season. I know for guys that are complaining a lot, we're not seeing these big bass blitzes, but there are bass to be had, and who knows, it could still blow up moving into December. But if you're going to try, I would still concentrate on local, tidal rivers like the Norwalk River, Norwalk Harbor, back up in Saugatuck, all the way up to the Herring Run Dam. I saw some bass taken. Guys were throwing some SPs. And then, of course, the Housatonic. Porgies are still being caught mostly from the boats now. We are seeing a few caught here and there from shore. But that's it. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week. Thanks and good luck.
And that's what we have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there and give yourself something to be thankful for, or something else to be thankful for this weekend. I wish you guys happy holidays. I wish you guys great fishing. And remember, head over to the website. You can buy our apparel. That makes a great gift. It goes great with a gift subscription. You can also check out what we offer if you're not a subscriber. We cover all the fishing from Delaware to Maine. We cover all angling disciplines, whether you're a surf guy, a fly guy, a freshwater guy, an inshore guy, an offshore guy. We got you covered. And we even do travel pieces that reach way outside the region. But even after you check out all that, if you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, I mean, $29.95 for a subscription to 3 editions of a magazine is pretty darn good with all the digital back issues, 12 paper editions sent to your house. But even after all that, if you're not interested, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right about there to get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.